strike tomorrow. But shouldn't you have a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Lena's Pierogi House is your home for the area's best variety of pierogies. Daily specials include the Polish platter, the Hungarian platter, stuffed cabbage, and halushki. Having a last-minute get-together? Lena's has you covered with a wide variety of frozen take-home pierogies and dumplings. Go to Facebook at Lena's Pierogi House to see the weekly lineup of available flavors for dine-in or carry-out. Catch the best at Lena's Monday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 20 North Main Street in Hubbard or call 234-254-8532.
Youngstown, Warren, and Salem's local and national sports talk can be found on TuneIn and the Live 365 app at Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Catch all of the spring and summer action of Cleveland Cobras minor league football on Western Reserve Radio. Follow the Cobras as they compete against teams from around the region in pursuit of a Tri-Point Football League championship. And if you're looking to continue your football career after high school, college, or even the pros, or to be part of the Cobras staff, go to Facebook at Cleveland Cobras Football. Or contact owner Jesse Caldwell at 330-416-3442. Be a part of the excitement of Cleveland Cobras football.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
It's time to kick back and listen to the Sports Page with your host, Pat Lucia, right here on Western Reserve Radio. You can call the show at 330-707-4202 and tell everyone what's on your mind in the wonderful world of sports. Now, here's your host, Pat Lucia.
Saturday morning Sports Page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark. 330-707-4202. Get in and talk sports. We do it every Saturday morning here. Here is Western Reserve Radio. And that's 9-11. There is a lot to get to in the wonderful world of sports. The NBA to talk about, and we are going to get to that first. Then we have the NFL, the draft. Joe Flacco signed a 1-year deal with the Cleveland Browns, which has probably eliminated, or at least many experts believe, that Shedeur Sanders will not go to the Browns or the New York Giants, as the Giants signed Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. We'll get to that. We'll speculate where we think Shedeur Sanders will drop in the draft. One other NFL note, the New Orleans Saints have a problem with Derek Carr. Their quarterback has got a shoulder injury. This just came out yesterday. What does this mean for the New Orleans Saints and Carr, their quarterback? He has many options, evidently, to look at. Potentially surgery, probably rehab, are the two options that were thrown out there. But the question's going to be for all of the Saint fans out there is, what will that do to Derek Carr's potential of not playing in 2025? Uncertain at this point, as they're trying to figure out what's going on with his shoulder. What does that basically mean in a nutshell is, does the Saints, who now sit at number 9 in the draft, do they consider maybe taking Shedeur Sanders, since every expert out there believes Shedeur Sanders will drop in the draft, and we're going to get to that, I said earlier. NBA, let's get to it right away. Dave Clark.
Yes, sir.
What's going on, sir?
Well, I'm ready for it all. The NBA playoffs. I'm ready for the draft. I'm just ready to get going with it. Finally, that long 82-game season is to the end, and now we get the play-in earlier this week, and then we'll be off and on to the races next Saturday with the beginning of the full playoff schedule.
Yeah, that's the best part. This is probably, well, in my eyes, this section here, I love the play-in tournament for all the people that think it's a waste of time. I just love it. And then I basically think the best part of the NBA will be next Saturday when all those games start, all day long, all day Sunday, all day Saturday, all day Sundays. There's just games from basically, they start at like 1 o'clock and they go till literally 1 a.m. Yep. It's wall-to-wall NBA next weekend.
Yes.
And that's the best part of it. I think that, and then these opening rounds of the playoffs are the best. I know they get a little chalky, but they're still great to sit and flip on the game. And you can watch, really, there's a lot of games going on. And that's probably the best part of the NBA is the games coming up next weekend. The start. I still like the play-in tournament because it's so off the wall, crazy. Right. And that these teams are just nothing to lose. Argument, they don't belong there. In the East, the teams are under 500, and it means absolutely nothing.
No, it doesn't. And they're under 500 in the regular season.
Right.
They're all even now, 0-0. So, and that's how you had to look at it. And a lot of those games are really shocking. You get these teams that get in there during the play-in, and they can be kind of dangerous once they get into the playoff.
Yeah. Speaking of that, just let's look at the NBA playoff picture as of right now. Last night, the Knicks lost to the Cavaliers, and I've got a prediction on what's going to happen to the Knicks. I'm going to share it, obviously, with you and everybody. But the Knicks lost to the Cavaliers, who were playing the B team, and Knicks were at home. They didn't need to win the game because the Pacers lost to the Magic earlier. So the Knicks will clinch the number 3 seed.
Right.
So the Knicks have got the number 3 seed tied up. The Pacers lost to the Magic. And I guess for all intent purposes, as we know, Cavaliers are the number 1 seed, Boston's 2 seed. That's already in the books. That's fine.
Right.
Then the rest of this will break out is Pacers lost. They clinched the 4 seed. The Milwaukee Bucks defeated the Pistons. They will play the Pacers at the number 5 seed. Again, the Pistons lost to the Bucks. They clinched the 6th seed. They will play the Knicks in the opening round.
Mm-hmm.
So the Magic have clinched the number 7 seed in the tournament. They defeated the Pacers, and they clinched the number 7 spot in the play-in tournament. It looks the Hawks defeated the 76ers. They clinched number 8 seed in play-in.
Right.
The Bulls defeated the Wizards. They'll have the 9 seed, and the Heat defeated the Pelicans. Therefore, they have the 10 seed. So basically, they will have a matchup with the Bulls. The Heat will play the Bulls, and then obviously the Magic will play the Hawks.
Right.
Is how it goes. And then we'll talk how it's a little confusing and how they work out the play-in, but we'll get to that. I want to get to the West Conference. As we know, the Oklahoma City have the number 1 seed locked up. They will play the 8 seed, whoever that is. Houston has already locked up the number 2 seed. They play the 7 seed out of the play-in. The Lakers have clinched the 3 seed, and therefore it looks like they will play Golden State. And then Denver's got the 4 seed. It looks like they will play the Clippers. Mm-hmm. And then moving on, it looks like, at least for now, I know the West is a little bit more dicier. They have to wait for the finals season, which is Sunday. It looks like now Minnesota is a 7 seed. They play the Memphis Grizzlies, and Sacramento 9 will take on the Dallas Mavericks at 10.
Right.
So that's what we have going on. It's called the SoFi Play-In Tournament. And then they have how that basically plays itself out. So that's kind of the play-in tournament. And the NBA will start Tuesday, April 15th, and then it will conclude on Friday, the 18th. And then the playoffs start right after that, which would be the 19th, Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So this week coming up will be obviously what I think is maybe a very great week for the NBA, leading into the playoffs. Now, there's the critics out there, don't think much of the play-in tournament, and they're very critical of it. But I think it's probably one of the best things the NBA's figured out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's something they had to add something to get a little spice to the NBA playoffs, and I think that's what did it. I was skeptical when it first happened. I said, I don't know what it'd be about, but it did. It generated a lot of interest. And then you get other cities involved, which gives them an opportunity to get into the regular playoffs. So, after a long grinding season, I guess that's a good thing at the end.
Well, that's kind of what I like, I like like they said, the way they have it lined up. Tuesday, you have the 7th seed in the East play the 8th seed in the East, and same thing in the West, 7 versus 8. Mm-hmm. And the winner of that advances to the playoffs as the number 7 seed. And then Wednesday, you have 9 and 10 play East. The 9 and 10s play East and West, and the loser is eliminated.
Right.
And then the Friday is you got your the 7-8 loser will play this 9 and 10 winner.
Yes.
And that gives you the 8th seed.
Right. Yes.
It's funky.
It's back to the YMCA.
Yeah.
Double elimination or whatever. I don't know. But it's definitely a trip back. I don't even try to figure out. Just let them play and then they tell me who's in it.
I think that's pretty much what most fans do here. Is I just think people just sit back and they just figure, look, man, I really don't kind of understand this thing, but I like watching it because I really want to see what the hell happens here. And then they'll say, oh, okay, so that's what happens. But I would venture to guess that the majority of the people don't know this, like don't understand it or really don't care to understand it. They're just going to watch the games and then okay, take it in.
Right.
But I think most people don't know what the hell is going on going into this tournament. Like if you ask most people how this worked, they'd look at you like they wouldn't know. Like
I have asked people. They don't even, they have no clue.
Flat out, yeah.
And I can't explain it to them either. So, like I said, I sit back and watch it and just listen to whatever they're talking about to see if I can figure it out and go from there.
That's the best part.
Yep.
I think that's a little chaos, a little chaotic.
Yeah.
Which is what we like.
Yeah, you need a little bit of that in there anyway.
We like chaos anyway, so this is just right up our alley.
Mm.
Yeah, I always like little chaos because it breaks up the boredom,
right?
And it kind of creates a little like what the hell's going on, which is good. I like this,
right?
So I like the play-in tournament. I think it's great, and hey. What was it? I believe it was the Miami Heat were a play-in team and got to the finals one year.
Yes, they did.
So
yes,
that's the other thing people need to kind of who might poo-poo the play-in tournament, say, oh, that's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, because that's exactly what happened with the Heat a few years back. Butler and all those guys got to the finals. So
Jimmy Butler, as we like to call him, Jimmy Buckets. But and speaking of Jimmy Buckets, and it looks like now it looks like Golden State may play the Lakers in the opening round.
Yeah, that would be
of
something.
The playoffs. I don't think TV wanted that.
No, they didn't. They'd rather have that for second or towards the final, not off the top.
Not off the top.
Mm-mm.
They didn't want the Lakers and Golden State because right now, I mean, when you look at the opening round playoff games, that playoff series, I personally think is front and center.
Yeah.
As far as the best, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think of when you look at these first round, skipping ahead a little bit past the play-in tournament, and we're going to obviously next week we're going to do our predictions. We will predict, we'll do like we did last year. We'll go through and predict the rounds and see who's going to win. It might be fairly easy. I don't know. In the East, it may be because I think it's going to come down to Cleveland and Boston. However, in the West, that's where it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. It definitely is. That is top to bottom. That is just a wild division. And when you think about it, the teams that's in the play-in, if those teams are healthy, completely healthy,
right?
What happens then? If you had a completely healthy Kyrie Irving and Davis never missing anything, what does that do? If you went down to San Antonio and had them completely healthy with Wembley and who did they get? DeAndre Fox.
Yeah.
What does that team do? I mean, the West is so loaded. It's not even funny at all. And the prediction, like you said, the Golden State and the Lakers game, another game that's intriguing. Maybe people, it will be below the Lakers and Golden State, but a very intriguing game because you got guys that play big time in big moments, and that's Denver against the Clippers when you got Jokic. And I remember they was just talking about Kawhi. And it's true too. When I thought about it, Barkley said, "You ever seen a guy that has been injured and never played? I mean, he's been injured, and then he comes back and play, and it's like he's never been injured. It doesn't even look like he's playing the exact same way, making big plays, doing everything. It doesn't even look like he's hurt or anything all the time. And he has major surgeries and everything. And that's the way he's been playing down the stretch. That is a dangerous team in the Clippers because they are playing well together. And, you never know with Denver. I know their bench is not as strong as it's been in the past when they won those championships, but they're always dangerous when you got Jokic in the middle there with his surrounding cast. So, I mean, Murray just steps up his game all the time when the playoffs come. That's just very intriguing to me, these teams. Houston is just a team that's just young, and I don't know what to predict with them. Young and not afraid of anyone. So it's going to be good.
I think the thing that basically is driving a lot of people crazy is what is the Denver Nuggets doing firing their coach?
Yeah, no.
What is your opinion? Like,
well, it's definitely internal. It was two teams that did that this season.
Memphis fired.
Yep.
This is the part the NBA to me, in some ways, is just a little wacky, because the Memphis Grizzlies and their infamous wisdom, again, it's just not Denver, but actually the Grizzlies, which I can't figure out, they fired their coach.
Yep.
Taylor Jenkins, who was doing very good. They fired him back on March 28th.
Yeah, 15 games above 500.
And he had had been winning with this team.
Yeah,
this is the part that I don't understand, is it wasn't like he had like a bad history with the team as far as, no, he had a winning, he's 40 years old. He coached him since 2019. Mm-hmm. And he's done a great job with the Memphis Grizzlies since he's been there.
Right.
And I don't understand, just to kind of give you a rough idea. Okay. He had and since 19, all right, he was 34. He was 34 up, 39 down in 1920. And in 2021, he was 34, 38. Then in 2021, he was 56 and 26. Great season. 2022-23 was 51-31. Then he had a bad year last year because they had all those injuries. They lost Ja Morant last year. He was only 27 and 55 down. So that was his poor year.
Right.
But this year, he was 44 and 29, and they fire him.
Yeah, I know. 15 games above, and that's why I said it's definitely internal. Whatever it is, it's something that happened internal. I know when you look at the Denver thing, you had Malone and the GM not on the same page. Really, a lot of turmoil within the ranks right there. So you got that, and what I thought or read is that it actually, trickled down to the locker room.
Yes.
And caused a lot of dissension in that area. So that's one of the reasons they had to just blow that thing up. But it's sad because both teams winning. We know Malone has been a good coach. He's done took his team to win titles.
Yeah, he won a title, 2 years ago?
Right. And the next thing you know, he's gone. So it's, things happen. We won't know everything. I'm sure to come out sometime. Somebody will leak something. So we'll finally find out exactly what happened. But as of right now, it's very, very peculiar that those type of things have happened. Very weird.
Well, I guess from what there was an article yesterday, ESPN had thrown an article in basically saying that the morale was literally miserable with the players.
Mm-hmm.
And as it just goes to show exactly what you said, was the alleged feud between the GM, who they did not renew his contracts. They pretty much are getting rid of the GM and Malone.
Oh, yeah, they did. They got rid of both.
So they're both gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they figured instead of taking sides, wipe the slate clean and let's start over.
Right.
It's just ironic they're doing it right before the playoffs.
Yep.
That's the part that catches everybody is, why did they wait till after the season? Right? Why couldn't they wait till after the season? Why couldn't they just, do that instead of doing it right before the playoffs? But evidently, they felt that it wasn't going to help the team to keep the coach and the GM around.
Mm-hmm.
That it was really having a detrimental effect on the team. So they believe that getting rid of both of them, at least maybe that will at least kind of clear the air, sort of to speak. You start over, you have the interim coach fill in, and it's evidently going to be, they feel will be a better atmosphere than going with the current coach and the GM in Denver.
Right. Yep.
So that must be I'm just kind of thought process and speculating that this is what was on the mind of the Denver Nugget upper echelon. I guess the owner, Kroenke, or his son, who kind of run the show there.
Mm-hmm.
They evidently made the decision that they could not even go to the playoffs with Malone as the head coach, and they haven't even the GM around.
Right.
So, and they were on a losing streak on top of it. The team has not been playing good. So that was creating the other problem for them. And speaking of, since we're talking NBA, and the New York Knicks lost last night to the Cavaliers. I actually watched the game, and they were winning the game. The Cavaliers again playing with their subs. And then the Knicks just stopped making shots in the fourth quarter. And the Cavaliers, even with the B team, came back and beat the Knicks.
Yep.
I have a bad feeling with the Knicks, and this is what I predict, is I have a bad feeling, being a Knicks fan all my life, as you know, and we talk about the Knicks all the time. The old Knicks, the DeBusschere Knicks and the Reed and the Frazier. And Walt Frazier, just throwing this in, Walt Frazier just turned 80 years old. So
yep.
Makes us feel younger, but hardly. And Walt Frazier, Clyde still looks great.
Yes, I mean, still.
I mean, great.
What he would say, I'm still moving and grooving. That's Walt Frazier. Oh man, Clyde still going.
Clyde looks tremendous. He's 80 years old. He has. I'll go. It's a good, evidently a great lifestyle. Made great genes, I'm assuming. I don't know about the genes. I know I'm going out on a limb. He looks really good for 80 years old.
Yep.
I'm sure Clyde takes care of himself.
Right.
Does all the right things, and he's still doing the Knick games on TV. He's still great on TV.
Yep.
So happy birthday. Well, it's probably belated because I know it was in March, but Clyde Frazier's turned 80, and obviously growing up, he was one of my favorite Knicks. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's like Reed, Clyde, DeBusschere. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love them all. So they obviously got the two championships under their belt, 70-73. I do digress. But what I think will happen with the Knicks, and I hate to say this, I like Thibodeau. I think he's a solid, good coach. I have a bad feeling the way the Knicks are playing right now, they're going to lose. I have a bad feeling they're going to lose the opening round of the playoffs, and I think they'll probably have to move on from Thibodeau.
Oh, yeah. Definitely if they lose the first round.
Yeah.
But it's a possibility. You got another young, right now, we don't know how it's going to, but it looks like, especially in the East, it looks like it's already set. I'm thinking they play the Pistons. That's going to be a problem with that young team that nothing to lose, and they play that way. They're tough. They may falter. And, hope not, but they may. But I can see that happening. New coach, for sure. If they lose, I think this definitely, he's gone. I actually do believe KD will be in if that happens too, with a new coach, depending on who the coach is too. But they'll definitely have to go away from Thibodeau. If they're out of there in the first round. I just don't see them holding on to him after that.
No, as of right now, you're right. The Knicks would play the Detroit Pistons in the first round. Indiana Pacers play the Bucks. Obviously, Celtics play the play-in number 7 seed, and then the Cavs play the 8th seed and from the play-in tournament. But you're right. I think if the Knicks get beat by the Pistons, I think they will get rid of Thibodeau. I have also a feeling that if they get by the Pistons, they would play Boston in all probability.
Yeah. And
they're not going to beat Boston.
No. Well, they're not, just the way they play, they're not going to beat neither one of the top 2 teams either way. It doesn't matter which way they go. They're not going to win there. I mean, it's just, when you look at it, now we know things happen. Miracles do happen sometime. But if you just look at everything that's on the table right now, I can't see it. And it's going to be something for them just to get through the first round. It's just something that's not flowing right.
Yeah, they don't seem. I watched the game last night. I know they made the trade, got Towns, Karl Anthony Towns.
Now he was out last night, right?
And he did not play.
Right.
He was on the bench in street clothes last night.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if he plays, they win. The way they can't. First of all, if you look at them this year, they haven't won against good teams. Like they lose to Boston, they lose to Cavaliers. They've just lost to the good upper echelon teams. They can't compete with the upper echelon teams. Obviously, they beat the lower end of the teams. That's our music. Time to take a quick break. This is the first quarter in the books. More to discuss on the Saturday morning sports page. Pat Lucia and Dave Clark. First quarter in the book. Second quarter coming up. Western Reserve Radio.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier. Then make sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take 1.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hiya, Queen of All Knowledge here, reminding you, creeps out there on the internet hack, scam, and trick savvy cyber users every day. But we can fight back. It's as easy as IC3. If you're a victim of online crime, don't give up. Visit IC3, the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. Your tips help the FBI track down cyber criminals around the world. Report your crime to www.ic3.gov today.
Saturday morning sports page back for quarter number 2, Dave Clark. We're in the books, quarter number 1. As we left off previous segment, the New York Knicks, I think Thibodeau is in trouble I have a feeling even if they lose to the Celtics, the Knicks may move on from him. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think, as you said, if they lose to the opening round to the Pistons, I think he will be gone.
Yeah.
If they fight Boston and lose a tough 7-game series,
yeah,
I think he might keep his job. If he gets swept, they're not competitive. I think he could be potentially out of a job.
Oh, yeah. He has to win the first one. And then if he goes to that second round and really put in, see that team can fight, just doesn't have the firepower to stick with him, I think he may, be able to. But, he'll be one of those guys that's on the hot seat that let anything not look right early in the season and he can get fired before the season gets going good. I mean, you just never know the way things happen in the NBA now. They put him on short leases. So we have to see what happened. But they definitely going to have to, for him to keep his job, they got to perform. And just wipe out regular season. They got to perform during these playoffs.
I think,
And it's tough. Being a Knicks fan, we think back to like you said, the Frazier and the Busher and Bradley and Willis Reed days. Those was great and stuff like that. But I even love the days when we had the Patrick Ewings, the Charles Oakleys, the Starks. I love those, even though they did not win a championship. Just the sheer desire to win. And they were so physical with Anthony Mason and everything. You didn't want to come up against the Knicks back in those days. They put a physical beating on you. And I used to love those days like that. But when I see the Knicks games, it gets to me because, well, the league has changed. They don't allow the physicality no more. So it doesn't look the same for me as a Knicks fan as it has in the past. So, sometimes you got to adjust to what they do now. So you got to get the right players in there so they can play with them.
Yeah, you're right. The game has changed.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the game it was in the 70s or the 80s or the 90s.
Mm-hmm. No.
I would even make the argument that at least the game in the 90s resembled the game in the 70s than this game today even remotely resembles the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
This is a totally different game. The players, I believe, and I watch it, the players are just so much more athletic than they were back then. It's just the way it is. But they seem to be injured more and don't play the games like they did back then. I mean, Magic Johnson and Bird and all your players, 80s, 90s, Michael Jordan. You didn't go to Michael Jordan and talk about load management. And Michael Jordan played every game like it was the 7th game of a playoff. Didn't want to, because as we all know, Michael Jordan is just so wired. He hated to lose anything.
Right.
What was the story they were talking about him when he was in North Carolina? I think Buzz Peterson was his roommate. I think Buzz Peterson beat him at a board game. And he said, Jordan got mad at him and they wanted to play again. And Jordan was going to play him until Jordan won beat him.
Yep.
Because he was just so wired.
Yeah.
You couldn't play Scrabble, Tiddlywinks, or anything with Michael Jordan because he wanted to win. Yeah. I even think his sister said that about him. These people that are close to Jordan knew him growing up, said he was that way growing up.
Right.
He's just wired that way.
Yep.
He wanted to win at everything and at any cost.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael Jordan wasn't going to sit down the 80th game of the season, say you could rest now because we have it in the bag. No, he goes, Jordan would go out and play because he did not want to sit out. If he could play, he was playing. And as you could say for Magic and Bird and all your players back then.
They just would, yeah.
They would. I mean, I never, in all the years I watched Magic Johnson, I never knew Magic, and I always kind of put Magic and Bird in the same sentence because they were basically, again, they played against one another, respect one another, but competed hard.
Right.
Either player never wanted to take any games off.
No, not back then.
Not back then.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's why Jordan said he's seen as the young players came in the league, as he got older, he was trying to see which ones had that killer instincts and things like that. That's what he said. He noticed it with Kobe as a young guy.
Right.
He noticed it with Allen Iverson. He said he knew when Allen Iverson, he said, you see the highlights when he got crossed over by Iverson. He said he knew that guy was from the old school. He said when he did it, after he did it, he just stared at Michael Jordan to let him know, I'm here. He said guys would never do that. Back in his day, this would not even, they wouldn't even give him eye contact sometimes. And he said he could tell right there. He said, this little guy doesn't care about anything. And that's, they left it on the court. That's the same. That's one thing I did like about that guy, Allen Iverson, to be such a small guy. He just, it didn't matter,
Well, the thing with Allen Iverson, I always thought he was always moving at a different speed. Like I always thought like it was a Twilight Zone that Allen Iverson was like a dimension ahead of everybody, a time dimension ahead. What do you want to call it? A speed dimension?
Yeah, I guess you could put it that because
could I call it a speed dimension ahead?
Right.
Everybody was playing at one dimension, speed dimension, and Allen Iverson was a speed dimension maybe 2 or 3 times faster than everyone else on a court. Because I did get to see him play one year when he was with Philly, went to a Cavs game. They played Philly and Allen Iverson. And it just seemed to me Allen Iverson was moving at a higher speed than everyone on the court.
Yep. I've seen him a couple times there too. Also at the old I'm thinking
the place in Akron,
Richfield,
outside
what was it? Richfield Coliseum.
Richfield Coliseum, outside of Akron. Yeah, Richfield.
Yep. And that guy would just be moving like you said, at a different speed. I've seen him take some heck of a hits and hit the floor, and you think, oh, that guy is done. No, gets right up.
No.
Just keeps going. And
and that was, the other thing too is he played that way.
Yeah. That's
dive for the ball, hustle. Every play was like the deciding play of the game.
That's why that segment about practice is so funny because
it's just hysterical.
Because they say, well, he didn't like to practice. Well, I want to know, where did he get all the stamina from? If he didn't work out, what did he do? Because this guy just keeps going and going like an Energizer bunny, just never stops. So he had to be doing something somewhere because this guy was sure enough in shape to be running like he was, and like you said, at a different speed.
Well, you could make the argument that some of the greatest players didn't practice.
Yeah, no.
Bo Jackson, watching the 30 for 30 when he was at Auburn,
right? They
were talking about that one coach telling him about, you got to practice, lay it on the field, and Bo said, I'm not doing that. It's practice, man. I'm not wasting myself, on a practice field, guy. I don't care what you say.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. It's so funny, but so true.
Yeah, that's a freak of an athlete. I hate to see what happened to him because I've never seen nothing like that. Guys running up a wall. I catch the ball in the outfield. I just run up the wall. Okay.
There's a segment, I'm sure you've seen it, where it might be one of the best plays ever made by an outfielder, Bo Jackson. Harold Reynolds was on first base, and batter, I don't remember the name of the hitter, hits the ball down, and it looks like it's a shot. Harold Reynolds is going to score easily.
Yeah.
And Bo Jackson plays that ball off the wall and he throws it not to the cutoff man. He throws a strike to the catcher.
Yep, I remember that.
You know it.
That's insane.
That is still maybe the greatest, one of the best plays by an outfielder of all time, where he tags Harold Reynolds out, and Reynolds can't believe it. The manager of the Seattle Mariners is out on the field, and they're trying to argue something because they can't believe it happened.
Right. Yes,
That was the you have two parts to that are just absolutely off the wall, funny and outrageous, hilarious, whatever you want to coin it. The play itself, where Bo Jackson, who I believe had Bo Jackson not separated or hurt, had a hip replacement. Had Bo Jackson stayed baseball, he'd be a first ballot Hall of Famer, hands down. Had not been hurt.
Yeah.
Same thing with football. He's the only player that could play both sports, and you could say he would have been a Hall of Famer in both sports, first ballot, both sports.
Isn't that something?
But that play he made on Harold Reynolds, it's so funny because Reynolds is up to try to argue with the umpire, and then the manager comes out and he's trying to argue with the umpire, and that's even almost as funny as or outstanding as the play itself being totally just out of the wall crazy, with Bo Jackson just throwing a strike from the outfield to the catcher.
Yep.
The players can't believe it. Neither can the manager, and they're trying to argue something that they can't believe.
Yeah, that's what the problem was, because it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe that happened. What I just seen, and I mean on a rope, and when people think about Harold Reynolds, oh well, he threw him out. This guy was a elite base runner.
Oh yeah,
we're not talking about this every day. This is an elite base runner with very good speed.
Oh yeah.
And he got him. He threw the ball on the rope. That's insane.
The best part is you see it and you're thinking it's quick. It's so quick, so you really can't see it.
Right.
But then when they slow it down on replay to see the tag, that's the part that hits you like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Because you actually see the catcher catch the ball and lay the tag on Reynolds as he's going home, because when you see it just at normal speed, you don't believe it happened.
Right.
Because it's hard to see the tag. But when you see the replay, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that.
Yeah, it was no argument once they show it.
Right. And when they show the replay, and you got to give the umpire credit because it was a bang, bang play and he called it right. But when you're seeing it, you're going, that can't. I guess you look at it and you can't believe it actually happened.
Right.
That was, I think, the kick is, you can't believe that Bo Jackson, any player, could make that throw like that and tag out, like you said, one of a great base runners. I thought Harold Reynolds was a really good baseball player, evidently not in the Hall of Fame, for whatever. But the point is, Reynolds, an excellent base runner, great ball player in my eyes, and he's out.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, he did some defying things. It's just crazy. And I think about after he had the replacement, and they were saying, I don't think he'd come back, and then he was able to come back, and they said, well, he won't be the guy that could have power and hit a home run, but they got him in. I think he came in as a pinch hitter or something.
Designated hitter.
And remember, he hit the ball so far without the stadium over. I said, this is crazy. This is a guy that can't, he can't follow through like he did before.
No.
Because of the hip. But to have that much power to generate and take the ball out of the stadium, that's insane. I mean, that's crazy. That is. You just wonder. You always would. I've always wondered if he never was injured, never got the injury, would that have happened? What you just said, Hall of Famer in baseball and a Hall of Famer in football. That'd have been remarkable.
And the thing is, when we were so lucky to watch him play. But what I always thought exactly that. I thought, people didn't think that Bo Jackson could really play baseball.
Yeah, no.
Michael Jordan tried it, but actually Jordan was improving. Had Jordan stuck with it, Jordan would have been, I think, a pretty good baseball player. I know there's a lot of people that, no, he wasn't, blah, blah, blah. But I think Jordan, just being the natural athlete that he was, could have developed into a pretty, now, I don't think he'd be as good as Bo Jackson.
Right.
Bo Jackson, to me, before he hurt the hip, and when you look at his numbers, like in 1990 had 28 homers. He had 32 homers in 89. Mm-hmm. He played in 135 games. In 88, he had 25 homers, 22 homers, 87. But as he was starting to really develop, Bo Jackson, to me, and then his outfield, his ability to make plays in the outfield was off the charts.
Yes. Yep.
And when I just think of Bo's, and then he hurt his hip, but you bring this up, even in his last couples, when he was in 91 is when he only played in 23 games with the White Sox because of the hip. Mm-hmm. But then in 93, with a hip replacement, the guy still hit 16 homers.
Right.
And then his last season with the Angels, he had 13 homers. And again, here's a guy that had a hip replacement.
Yeah.
That did that. No normal person. There's guys with good hips can't do that.
You're right.
And here's a guy with a hip replacement still able to play decently in Major League Baseball. Obviously, he was done with football. But it gets to, and he stayed healthy with,
Yep.
with healthy hip, and he'd not been hurt with the Raiders playing. And then when he made, the best friends he made with the Raiders is still to this day is when he drove Bosworth, he hit him and drove him back 4 yards and for the touchdown. Then the touchdown run he made against Seattle where he ran up through the tunnel.
Yeah, I mean, speed was that's off the charts.
That's off the charts.
And they said he did. He they didn't do the combine or nothing like that. But then we ran that 40. They said that was clocking 4.19 or something like that.
Yeah, it was, the 40 dash time was 4.13.
13, that's it. 13, yep. That's insane. And that was with I remember they said he didn't have the regular track shoe. He just had some shorts and just went on and ran it too. That's the thing that's crazy. Not even the proper equipment. And you run that, but you could tell he has a different type of speed. And if you ever see I know it's a 30 for 30 or 30 for 30 shorts. Remember they used to have those come on. And it's Dion talking. He said that he loved Bo. He said because he got to meet Bo up close and personal. And he said Bo took his head and just drove it into the ground because he's trying to make a tackle. He said he was a freshman, and Bo went to the outside, and he said people were saying touchdown, but he went and caught Bo. But when he got there, he said the problem was when he got there, he took his head and just drove him into the ground. He said a lot of people don't want to admit things like that. He said, I'll admit it. The guy took my head and drove it into the ground. They showed the highlight too, where he ran him down. He did run him. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
but he just
caught him. Yeah, because Dion's the speed. Yeah,
but he did. He just mugged Dion and just pushed him down like he was just a rag doll. I said, my goodness, this guy. And that team was something back then for Auburn. Anyway, they had so much talent. Even big Frank Thomas was on that team.
Yeah, Frank. That was that was 85.
Yeah. I think did he play tight end? Frank Thomas.
Yeah, you know what? I think
he was a tight end.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
On that would have been the 85 Auburn roster, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good that's a good trivia.
Yeah.
Because I believe you're right. And Frank Thomas obviously went on to be Hall of Famer.
Yeah, the big hurt.
A great baseball player, but he was also, we have to pull that up
to
see exactly with Frank Thomas. I believe you're right. I thought he was on one of those.
He was on one of those Auburn's teams with him. I know that for sure. I'm not sure the exact which year.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. Because I think you're right. I think Frank Thomas did play for Auburn. Let's see, Auburn. Yeah, he played. The Big Hurt played it from eight. No, he was after Bo.
Was he after Bo?
He was after Bo. He was on the Big Hurt played. Oh, he played baseball at Auburn, 87 to 89. His freshman year was 87.
Okay.
But I guess the question is, did he play?
Yeah, I thought I heard that he played football, but then just put everything into his baseball career. So.
Oh no, he had I believe he was on the 86 Auburn team.
Yep.
He caught 3 passes for 45 yards, and he played the one season and then decided to go into football. But he was, number 87 with Auburn in 86.
Yep.
Now, but Bo was gone in 86.
Yeah, I think that was his year he got drafted by Tampa Bay, if I'm not mistaken, I think. Maybe not.
Because he played with the Kansas City Royals in 86. That was part of his baseball. But I guess the question, when did I think Bo got out in, let me see what he did. Did he play the 86 season he might have. He was the 86 first round. He was number 1.
Right, by Tampa Bay, and he didn't play.
Right.
Yep.
And he skipped it because of the owner, because the owner got him ineligible. But the NCAA, that's why he didn't play for Tampa Bay.
Right.
That was in the 30 for 30, and that's why he wouldn't play football because of what the owner did to him. I think the owner said it was something to do. You could come and visit. I'll give you the plane ride. I cleared it with the NCAA. And he took it and then found out the NCAA said, no, that was an extra benefit and declared Bo ineligible to play baseball at Auburn.
Yep.
And then Bo basically said, well, that's fine then. But he took it against the Tampa Bay. Culverhouse was the Tampa Bay owner at the time.
Yep. Lied to him about that.
Right. He lied to him about it, and Bo held that against him because Bo wanted to play baseball his senior year and was declared ineligible by our favorite NCAA, because they took that as an extra benefit.
Oh yeah, you know that.
Yeah, we can go, all that.
don't go down that rabbit hole.
We won't go down that road today. We'll save that for because we do have to. That's coming up.
Oh, NCAA always going to come up.
It's coming up, though. Now they're talking about, and we'll get to that later. We're not going to talk about it today. We'll save because we got to hit second half of the show. We want to really tie in, talk a little bit more about Shedeur Sanders and what's going to happen there. But getting back to Bo, Bo basically played from. He was on the 85 team, and then 86. That's when he started with the Royals because he wouldn't play for the. Tampa Bay, and that's where the problem was.
Right. Yep.
And then ultimately, he ended up he was the first pick in 86. That's when running backs were valued at something. Now, obviously, if Bo came out now, he would probably be I still think he'd be a first round pick, but but Frank Thomas was a year after Bo. Frank Thomas was on the 86 Auburn team, and Bo was obviously on the 85 team. He was obviously the SEC player, and I believe he was. I'm looking at it. Bo did win the Heisman Trophy.
Yep. Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did. So 85 Heisman Trophy. So right, obviously. So but again. Kind of going down the road, we opened up the door. We had to talk about our man, Bo Jackson, who I think, pound for pound, even, injury aside, is the greatest athlete as far as playing, 2 sports the way he did. Now, you make the argument Jim Brown was one of the greatest lacrosse players ever to play.
Right.
Wilt was maybe one of the greatest volleyball players.
Mm-hmm.
So you have players that were great in their sport, but outside of their sport were also great athletes and did, great things as far as, like I said, Jim Brown, great lacrosse, one of the best lacrosse players, agility and size. And then we talked a little bit about Wilt last week. It's just his pure athletic ability. And I know he scored 100 points against maybe inferior opponents. Oh, I saw one thing though, about players who said who their toughest opponent was. And Jerry West said Oscar Robertson was his toughest opponent. Mm-hmm. And I think it was Bill Russell said his toughest opponent was Nate Thurman.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that when Nate Thurman was so jacked, but he was he had those muscles and he was such a tough player, Nate Thurman, but he was a great player, I think one of the most underrated players to play.
Yeah.
And great, man. And just, he was just so strong. And he drove all those centers crazy.
Yeah. Yep. That's something back then.
Yeah. I would say Nate Thurman might have been the second strongest. Chamberlain, I think, was the strongest because I think Wilt Chamberlain was just an absolute total freak of nature. But Nate Thurman might have been, maybe he was as strong as Wilt. Just pure, unadulterated, and physicality was through the roof.
Right. That's why he's able to hold his own at his size, only being, I think he was only, 6'7"? Was he really the height that they listed him?
I think, that's a good question because I know sometimes they always press that. I think Nate they had him 6'11".
Yeah, I know. That's what I seen people said he wasn't nowhere near, but I don't know.
No. Yeah, like Bowling Green University, I know that.
Right.
Hey, halftime of the show. We're going to come back and we have a lot to get to. Second part of the Saturday morning sports game. Back after the quick timeout. Western Reserve
The stations that always keep you in the zone.
I love it.
It's awesome.
Western Reserve Radio, Western Reserve Radio 2, and City View Sportscast, Youngstown, Ohio.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Ina's Pierogi House is your home for the area's best variety of pierogies. Daily specials include the Polish platter, the Hungarian platter, stuffed cabbage, and halushki. Having a last-minute get-together? Lena's has you covered with a wide variety of frozen take-home pierogies and dumplings. Go to Facebook at Lena's Pierogi House to see the weekly lineup of available flavors for dine-in or carry-out. Catch the best at Lena's Monday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 20 North Main Street in Hubbard or call 234-254-8532.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Catch all of the spring and summer action of Cleveland Cobras minor league football on Western Reserve Radio. Follow the Cobras as they compete against teams from around the region in pursuit of a Tri-Point Football League championship. And if you're looking to continue your football career after high school, college, or even the pros, or to be part of the Cobras staff, go to Facebook at Cleveland Cobras Football or contact owner Jesse Caldwell at 330-416-3442. Be a part of the excitement of Cleveland Cobras football.
Yeah. No, he was legit. Saturday morning sports page coming back at you, second half of the show. 330-707-4202. Get in, talk sports. Dave Clark joining me as he does every Saturday morning here on Western Reserve Radio from 9 to 11. Dave Clark, Nate Thurman, I need correct. It was Jabbar, not Russell, that said Nate Thurman was his toughest opponent.
Okay.
Yeah. And from looking at these pictures, Nate Thurman was 6'11", and he was a legitimate 6'11", because I'm seeing these pictures of him and Jabbar playing against one another.
He's
and
close
now
to him.
Jabbar was probably 7'3", 7'4".
Yeah, I know. He was definitely taller than 7'2".
Yeah, he was in 7'2". It gets back to Bill Walton was 7'2". He was in 6'11".
Right.
Bill Walton was a lot bigger than 6'11". But what's real funny when you see Nate Thurman playing against Jabbar, you can see him pretty much there. I mean, Jabbar's taller, but not radically taller. So Nate might have been a little bit taller than 6'11" too, if anything. Mm-hmm. But definitely the body and the physicality and the ability. Nate Thurman was very quick, strong, defensive player, long arms, nice touch, great, tenacious rebounder, going on, block shots, great attitude. And he was born in Akron, Ohio, went to Bowling Green, and was the third player picked in the let me see what draft he was. 1963. He was the third overall pick by the San Francisco Warriors. He played from 63 to 77.
Okay.
So he had a long NBA career, and he did not do load management either.
Yeah. I don't even think that was in the vocabulary of anyone's back then.
Well, this is the part I love, looking at some of the older players. Here, just to give you, since we brought up Nate Thurman, this is the part I absolutely love about a Nate Thurman. He had 14,437 points. He had 14,464 rebounds. His points and rebounds were almost identical.
That's crazy. He
averaged 15 points a game and 15 rebounds a game and 2.7 assists. He had 2,575 assists. Unbelievable ball player, Nate Thurman.
Yep.
And sadly, he passed in 2016 at the age of 74. But a great NBA player, definitely. The player, one of the NBA players that they lied about their height was Willis Reed.
Right, yeah.
Willis Reed, they put always at 6'11". He was probably on a good day 6'6".
Mm-hmm.
He is like Charles Barkley, body-wise.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about, we were talking about the great players back then in the day, but like when the Baltimore Bullets, we're going to go back to when we were kids, they played the Knicks, and Wesson still played against Willis Reed, and Gus Johnson played against DeBusschere. And, it's real funny. They played really hard and physical against one another, but they never got in fights.
No.
But they didn't hug one another after the games either.
No.
They shook hands, maybe, but they played hard. And DeBusschere said, Gus Johnson, he had all the respect in the world because he played him hard. And Johnson said the same about DeBusschere. But, they've just both physical teams, and those New York Knicks Baltimore Bullet matchups in the late 60s and early 70s were great, were classic.
Right. Yep.
But the players played hard, and again, I keep going back to back then, although they played every game unless they were really hurt.
Yeah, that's just how it was.
But that's the way it was.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Great players. And I think the problem we have is maybe because of our age, growing up and watching the game, what it's evolved to in the load management and the 3-point shooting. I think it's gotten a little out of control. And it's not really the game we grew up with. So we sometimes see the flaws in the game compared to what it was growing up.
Yeah.
It's still a good game to watch. It's just not like it used to be when we, growing up, we really liked it and we knew those players, and maybe nostalgia plays here. So,
yeah, it's got a lot to do with it.
And I'm sure it's got a lot to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
But, we talked about the NBA. We'll maybe come back to that. But let's get to where we really like to be. And you know where that is.
Yeah. Oh,
we got to get to football.
Yep.
Got to get to the draft. I know I'm going to call this the Shedeur Sanders draft.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what it is.
What it is.
Don't you? I know.
Oh, I definitely think that. And I seen a very good show on yesterday. Good segment. I don't know if you ever watched Good Morning Football.
No, I have not. I've heard though it's really a good.
That's really a good show, and I watched that, and a guy, one of the hosts, I forget his first name, last name I think is it Ken Brandt? I think that's his first name, the host, and one of the other hosts on the former player Isaiah Stanback. They have been the last 2 months with Shedeur. And just, and just around with him and everything. And they went over things. They got in arguments with GMs and everything because they wanted to know. They asked questions about what's the problem with Shedeur. Well, we don't like his arrogance. So Brandt, who's the host of Good Morning, he asked me, so, okay, what is his, well, he said he wants to come in and he wants to get the culture to where they're winning, and he feels like he's the guy that could do that. He's about getting everybody on the same page, doing a lot of film study. We need to be doing this. And they felt that he's just a little bit over the top of like coming in. He's going to tell people but he never said that. He said he told him this is what he's like and what he's been brought up, that you need to come in and have everybody on the same page. And that's how he was taught as a little kid.
Right.
All the way up. And he said then when he got in, playing at college, he said that's how his dad showed him. He said, but something he learned in his last couple of years at Colorado under Pat Shermer is how to study film all the time and different things and intricately, how important it is. And he just said you want to get all your receivers, your backs, then your linemen, you want to get all of them. They felt that's arrogant that he's like that. They didn't say nothing about it. He said, it's going to be me, I'm the best. Then no comments like that. Nothing crazy. And then they said something about his his arrogance. Like I said, talked about that. And then they wanted to try to talk about, well, he pats the football. When before he throws, he pats the football. So they got mad at Isaiah Stanback because he said, oh, I got something to show you. So he shows them, he shows them Mahomes. He shows them Josh Allen. He shows them, he took it back to the day. He showed them Joe Montana. He was showing them all kind of, he said, boy, look at those guys pat the football before they zero in where they want to throw. And they said they got thrown out of they couldn't name the teams. They got thrown out of their meeting because they started showing them that. And he said they did this because they want to show how it is for NFL players, certain players, not just one or two, certain players get targeted and they actually go out there to try to ruin their draft stock. And they said they felt that's what they're doing, but it doesn't matter. It can't ruin his success. They can ruin his draft stock. They could. They can make him drop and drop and drop, but they can't ruin his success. So it was, Pat, you would have loved this show because I said, man, this is right up our alley. I said, this is exactly what we've been talking about. Just making things up. Saying that he couldn't throw deep, then he shows it, and he does it effortlessly, throwing deep passes. So, you know, the next thing they said back, his ball has a little wobble.
Oh, man.
So, Brant, he said, that's when they really got thrown out. He said he brought up and started showing things like Patrick Mahomes. He showed, he thought one of the best quarterbacks around, Dan Fouts, and how his at times had wobble, but it was a perfect ball to catch. And they just said their mouth was wide open because now you're talking about Hall of Famers, you're talking about great quarterbacks over the years, Joe Montana. We know Mahomes is they started looking at today's quarterbacks. They just making up stuff to really ruin this guy. And it's sad. And they said they think it's all because of they have this sheer confidence in themselves to be able to do things. He said, but the host of Good Morning, he said, well, how can you succeed in life, period, if you don't have confidence in yourself? Anything. I could have confidence in you about doing something, but if you don't have the confidence that you could do it, you probably won't succeed in it. So you have to have self-confidence to be able to do that. And, they try to drum up other things, but they couldn't, like, try to see if there's any off the field type thing. But he's never been in trouble. He's never had any off the field incidents about anything ever. So they couldn't bring up anything like that. And I said, this is sad that they're trying to ruin this guy. And it made my whole thought process about Shadir I'm really rooting for this guy to do well, because that is sad that they do that, and it is his draft. You are exactly right, because for a guy that we know that's probably going number one, Cam Ward, how much talk do you hear about Cam Ward?
None.
all you hear about is Tennessee Titans should be taking Cam Ward. That's it. In this story, we're not even talking about that no more. It's sad.
Well, and here's a few things. Have they not only you're talking about how he taps the ball before he throws it,
right?
You ever see Tom Brady?
Yep. Oh, there you go. That's the first person they brought up.
Master of that.
Yes, that was the first name that was brought up.
Yeah, that's the first name that jumps out at me.
Yeah, he's the first name that came up. Isaiah Stanback said, hey, I got drafted by the Cowboys, traded to New England, played one season there before he went on. I think he was with the Rams or somebody. He said, Tom Brady always patted the football.
That's all he does.
Right before he zeroed in.
That's what Tom Brady did. That was his MO. That's what I'm almost can't get my hands around the fact. Well, we talk about this so much. It's almost analysis by paralysis, or paralysis by analysis, however you want to call it.
Right.
Bottom line is this. We're seeing this year in and year out, where all these experts take all the information, which I don't know how much is legitimate information or lying, misinformation, and now they've got Shedeur Sanders dropping in the draft. Cleveland signed Flacco.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know what? Please. All right. When Irish Mike will probably call in, we'll ask him. But if you're a Cleveland Brown fan, how happy can you be? You're rolling into the season with Pickett and Flacco as your two quarterbacks. Are you kidding me? Look, I like Joe Flacco. I know he did great things with the Browns, but look, he's old. Last year with the Colts, he didn't play good. He got benched and they went back to Richardson. Do people remember that or conveniently forget it?
No, I don't think they did, but I was talking to Jim when I first came. One thing I will say about that is he's a system guy, and the system they had at the Colts. That's another thing I watched on the NFL Network. The thing that they had at the Colts was a system that was set up for Richardson, and when they got Flacco, they couldn't change things midstream, so they kept some of the same things. They just took out the RPOs and different things of that nature, but the system was completely different. More short dinks and dunks instead of mid-range. With Stefanski's system, it gives Flacco a wide range. Go deep. He can go because of his arm strength. So and then his coverages that are not coverages, but his blocking schemes are different. It's really a system that was similar to Baltimore's, where he played and where he had success. That's why I think even when Jim talked about that last week, saying that'd be a good, I hope we get Flacco like that. I think that is a good thing that you get him, because he's a guy that could be that bridge, the perfect bridge for whatever quarterback you're going to bring in. And they got other needs. But see, I tell you what, I had to think about something too. You bring in Shedeur, you could. The Browns could. But here's the big factor in Stefanski's system. What is one of the biggest things that always went well with Stefanski's system that the Cleveland Browns do not do really well right now? And that is running the football.
Yeah, they don't run the ball.
So your biggest issues is you need to get a running back, a top flight running back to do what they need to get done. And whether that's by J.K. Dobbins or somebody in free agency, or you draft one, you have to get somebody in there for his system to work that can run the football. And then now you go off of play action and different things he do. Shedeur, now, if they could do like they hopefully can, because they got the firepower, and if the people will trade with him, they might get back in the first round and try to get him if he's not gone. I think that's what the plan is, because what I've seen before now lately is Travis Hunter, but I also heard now the Raiders is talking with the Browns, trying to get the number 2 pick so they can take Travis Hunter. Whereas the Browns will move to 6 and they'll take Gentry.
Yeah.
And if that happens, that could really trigger some good things for them. But if they stand pat and they can get back into the first round, they may take him later. But for the second pick, I do think they're going to have to do some other things than just a quarterback right off the bat. They may have to do that.
Well, I
just
don't
because
think
of his system.
The problem you have got now, though, and this is what I kind of get confused about, is all right. I don't have a problem with signing Flacco. You bring up a good point. I know he's a system guy. The problem I kind of have with him is the last game he played with the Browns in the playoffs, he threw a lot of interceptions.
Right.
Okay. He's older. Maybe he could be a bridge guy. Maybe he can but if you're a Cleveland Brown fan, Flacco, to me, if he's going to be your starter, it's not good. He could give you a few good starts, but in his age, he does throw interceptions. I'm not. Maybe he and what's his name, Pickett, will fight it out, and they'll decide who gets the winning job there. They have Watson still on the team, and now Watson is using all this negative for motivation to make his return. I read that article.
Right.
Deshaun's not going away in the night. He's in fact using everything negative about him to use it as the chip on the shoulder. I'm going to show you, which maybe is a good thing because the Browns have him under contract for another year after this one,
right,
much to the chagrin of many Browns fans. So he's there. So maybe, I don't think Watson is going to play much this year because of the Achilles,
right,
because of the torn ACL again.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's, was it Achilles he tore again?
Yeah, he re-tore it, yep.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if he plays much, if any. So you really got Flacco, and you're going to have Pickett as your quarterback. Again, I can't get over the fact that everybody is just like downplaying Shedeur Sanders and nobody wants him, even the Giants. Mm-hmm. There's an outside chance the Giants draft him, but I have a tendency to think they're the Giants. They won't do that. I think now where he may land, and we in the opening.
Yeah, he is going to land there.
I think he's going to end up with the Saints.
Yeah, well, and that was a possibility anyway because they said he had a good meeting with them a few weeks back, and they really like him down there.
Right.
So, so they already had positives to say about him. So now they're under a situation where they might be in a need. I don't think he gets past that. I don't
think so either.
Yep. And people said this. Don't not even just shy away that he doesn't get past 7. That the Jets, which we know is always, you don't know what they're going to do. I wouldn't be surprised they took him.
And that's what I think.
It's a good possibility the Jets could take him.
And that's what I was thinking when I was looking at the draft order.
Because they really
and I look at this all the time. And I don't know why I need to look at it because I should know it by the back of my hand since I look at it, I don't know, once a day. But I mean, Tennessee obviously spoke. I think Cleveland and the Giants are going to pass on him. New England's passing on him. Jacksonville, they don't need him. You get to the Raiders, they just signed Geno to the big fat contract extension.
Right.
I don't really know if the Raiders are going to draft him or not. There you go. The Jets sit at number 7.
Right.
But they are the Jets. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You just don't know. They're wild
they
card.
Always, yeah.
And
they
the Raiders
screw things up.
And I thought the Raiders, but the Raiders honestly, they need a back, and they need one badly. Their running game was terrible.
Right.
They lost Josh Jacobs. Yeah. It was terrible. So they need a guy that can do some things for them. So, I mean, if they stand pat with that 6th pick, I'm thinking it'd be Gente, but I won't put it past, the son, Mark Davis, has a little envision of Al Davis, who loves Heisman Trophy winners. They talking about trading up. He's been known to get as many Heisman Trophy winners on the Raiders in years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they could move up to the Browns spot, and the Browns can get a lot more ammunition for a lot of things down the road. So, we had to keep an eye on that.
So you think that potentially the Raiders could trade up Browns and take Travis Hunter,
right?
Because and that sounds like Mark Davis, because that's Al. I mean, he's got this Al's son, and I could see Davis looking to do that because he wants to make a name and a splash, and everybody likes Travis Hunter, and I think that if the Browns supposedly may take Carter, the Giants are taking Travis Hunter.
Yep. I do too. I think they'll take him.
And I think now with Derek Carr's shoulder being a potential big problem, and if they have to do surgery, as we all know, shoulders can be real tricky.
Yeah, he may not come back this season.
And he's injury prone anyway. So if I'm the Saints, maybe the Saints are behind all this negative chatter about Shedeur because they want to draft him. I mean, like, that's never happened before.
Right.
Some team puts out a bunch of misinformation about a player because they're hoping this player comes to them.
Yeah. Well, I'd actually think they may do it. I mean, Spencer Rattler did some good things, and you definitely probably want to keep that young quarterback around.
Yeah.
But you don't have anybody to really go to in free agency. No. With Flacco already signing, I think they had what's his name? He just signed with Seattle. He used to play with Seattle. He played with you guys last year.
Drew Lock.
He wouldn't just sign with Seattle.
He signed with Seattle from the right.
Right. It's not too many free agent quarterbacks out there that you can say, okay, let's pencil him in. So I mean, you can start that season out with Rattler, or you can have Rattler and Shedeur actually go, at it. And I think
I think.
I think we got calls, Pat, coming in.
All right, good.
Here you
Let's go.
Hello.
Hey.
We got someone there online? Oh, they must have hung up. Maybe they'll call back. Hopefully it might have been Irish Mike. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's probably Irish Mike. Sounded like he was in his car. Maybe he was in a dead spot.
Yeah, because that didn't happen before. There it is.
No.
Here's ringing again.
All right.
Hello.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, Irish Mike, how are you?
It's Irish Mike, how are you?
Irish Mike, what's up?
Hey, Josh Heupel might be my new favorite coach in college football. Right? He told that quarterback to move on. We're moving on from you.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Negotiate his contract, his NIL deal,
Nico.
$4 million, and said, we're moving on from you.
Yeah, I just seen it on the TV screen. I'm just looking at it now. Moving on from quarterback Nico. Yep.
Yes. Allegedly in the last week, he's missed a lot of meetings and practice or two and told the Tennessee folks he wanted to renegotiate his NIL deal because, as Lucia knows, this coming Wednesday, the portal opens again from April 16th to the 25th, right? And you're going to see a lot. Once again, we're going to see a lot of movement. Right?
National Football College Association. We're going to renegotiate the NIL, man. Who would have told me to be doing this?
Well, supposedly, I got to look into this, but supposedly they're trying to do away with NIL and just make it straight pay for play and give the schools $20 million. But the schools have to determine what sports are getting the ball. They have to say you got $20 million, you got to spread it around all your sports.
Yeah.
So they're supposed to be coming in summer, fall. These guys want to get their payday, Pat, before the guardrail hit. There's no guardrails right now. So the players want to get as much as they can before the guardrails come in, right?
Right.
And but then they were saying this. They were saying, here's your problem with this, because this is the NCAA, so you know they screw it up. But the point they're going to have is now they're going to give most of the money to the income sports that make the money, football and basketball. Here's our break. Hold in, Irish Mike. Hang in. Fourth quarter coming off. A lot to get to. Still with a quarter left. Dave Clark, Pat Lucia. We got Irish Mike on the line. Quick timeout. We'll be back right after this brief announcement on Western Reserve Radio, Saturday morning sports page.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
This is Jerry Snodgrass, Executive Director of the Ohio High School Athletic Association. One of my long-standing goals is to help people understand that high school sports are about so much more than wins and losses. The OHSAA promotes education-based athletics, where sports are an extension of the classroom. Our schools all want to win. There's no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, it's all about sportsmanship, leadership, and making certain that academics are a priority. Thank you for your support of high school sports in Ohio.
Saturday morning sports page back. Pat Lucia, Dave Clark. We got Irish Mike on the line. As we were discussing college football portal, and now obviously the NIL situation is developing. But what my understanding, Matt, Irish Mike, maybe you guys can weigh in. But
LSU spring game today, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, a lot of spring games.
Yeah,
so
that's true. We got the spring games that make enough money, and I know Ohio State's not having. What is it they're having? It was like a spring game, but it's kind of more of a. It's not an actual
and
game,
Notre Dame's
but
doing
they're
the
like
exact same thing. Notre Dame's doing the exact. There's no traditional blocking, hitting, tackling. It's more of a. It's more of a funsy thing than it is a spring game in quotation.
Okay. Right. It's just they want to get people in the stands so they can buy concessions and spend money and makes money, but that's going to be more like you said. And it's great. I mean, that's true. Yeah. You know, people will flock. Ohio State, Notre Dame. Ohio State fans will load that stadium up. They love this. Again, there's only, in college, Columbus has one pro team is Ohio State. It always will be. It's been that way for 50, 60 years. Just we were talking on the portal and the transfer situation and the NIL. Just to throw this out is now what I've heard that they're going to give the schools apparently $20 million to spread overall sports. And then the debate's going to be, though, with Title IX, do they give less to the women's sports and more to the men's sports, basketball, football, and then they spread the rest of it to what's left over among all the other sports. But, Title IX is supposed to be equal. So I don't know if there are issues with like women's basketball. Do they get a bigger piece of the pie based with Title IX? I don't know, but I think it's a mess. And I don't think Congress will figure it out. And if they're going to eliminate NIL, then they can't prevent a kid from going out on his own and making money off his name, image, and likeness. So I don't know where they draw the line. And if the NCAA is going to come in and slap somebody's wrist for the college, for the pro, I mean, the quarterback going out and making $1 million on their own NIL deal, like, you can't do that. Well, you know where we're going to end up? We're going to be back up in court, and the court's going to rule for the kids, and this is a disaster. I had to get that out.
Yeah.
Right?
And just think of your spring games, Dave, Pat. I know Dave talked about this last week, and I know Notre Dame did it. I'm sure Ohio State and Penn State. They had their scrimmages that were last Saturday where they were 60 plays and they were live. Because as Dave said, you still got to look at your younger guys. You still got to look at guys who are freshmen, sophomore, haven't been in your program very long, and say, what can this guy do? Can he help us this fall? So last Saturday was a lot of blocking, hitting, and tackling, and you know what I mean? But like Dave said, you got to do it.
Yep.
All right, it's one of those, not for the veteran guys who may do the playoffs in December and January, but the younger guys that you kind of want to see where they're at after a year or two in your program.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're going to figure, and then the other thing now with the portal, and everybody's outraged to some extent, but now college coaches are coming out saying they're not going to recruit high school kids; they're just going to work off the portal and recruit off the transfer portal. And I mean, that's going to give the whole concept of recruiting a whole different.
The NCAA this week that basically, and we know it's been going on for 50 years that you're legally now allowed to cut kids. You're legally allowed to tell them. I mean, and we've been doing that for 5 decades now. You walk in and you say, "Hey, you're welcome to stay here on scholarship, but we really just don't see you playing a whole lot in your career here, right?"
Mm-hmm.
Or they don't renew the scholarship, and a lot of the schools just say, "Look, you're coming off an injury. We're not going to renew your scholarship because we've recruited 2 other guys that were probably better, and they're not. We don't know about you anymore. We're not going to renew your scholarship, and we're going to go in a different direction.
Yeah.
Good luck."
Yeah.
And that happens. It happens more than they want. And I know all the college coaches are crying foul, but the bottom line is they turn around and recruit off the portal anyway. So as much as they hate it, they still use it to recruit and build a team.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they're hypocrites. The hypocrisy in this whole college is just processes through the roof.
Yeah.
And you only hear one side of it. But no one's coming out and saying, yeah, but coach, you don't renew scholarships for certain kids. So at the end of the day, you can't blame the kid. If the kid can get more money or get a better deal and he can leave, why can't he?
Yeah.
He might be the star. You can't.
2 weeks ago, how distracting was that to the Maryland basketball team when everyone knew in the world that Kevin Willer was going to Villanova while they were in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Right? That was very distracting for that team. And the student body turned on him in Maryland. Remember? They were booing him.
Oh, yeah.
It was the worst coach in America. He was leaving.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing, and you guys already know this, most of the better football players or basketball in any sport, even male or female, when they enter the transfer portal, 90% of them guys know where they're already going, right? You know that?
Oh,
and I know
definitely.
that. They already have a destination.
Right.
Because they've been in contact with somebody's uncle or aunt or, or their former high school football coach. And, they already have within 2 days, they're already committing to another school. It was like, well, you just entered the portal 36 hours ago. Now you found a new school?
Yep. Yep. They have an idea.
And there's,
sure.
Pat, let me say this, gentlemen. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids right now in the portal in college football that have been in the portal 6 months, a year and a half. And there's like 900 of them.
Yeah, I can believe
more.
that.
Yeah.
They can't find a destination. They've been in the portal now for over a year and a half.
Yeah, that's sad.
Because you got kids doing that are getting into the portal thinking they're going to find a home. And because there's so many kids in the portal, they're competing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And therein lies your problem. And there's no guardrails and there's really nothing out there that's, is going to give guidance to any of these kids. It's just a matter of who wants you, and you're not as good as you think you are, which is the other problem.
Yep.
As the kids think they're better than they are, and they're not.
This coming December 2025, the USC Trojans, Chad Bowden, general manager at USC, who used to be at Notre Dame. He left Marcus Freeman about 3 months ago to go out to SC. Now it's become a big rivalry even more. But they plan to sign 35 players this coming December, okay, which is obviously still 7 months down the road. Let me ask you these two questions, gentlemen. Out of those 35 kids within, say, 18 months, how many will still actually be at USC after 18 months out of those 35 kids?
8.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
not. They're going to sign They're going to sign at least 8 defensive linemen. Let me repeat. They're going to sign at least 8 defensive linemen.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what that's all about, Pat? We want to get you here. We want to evaluate you, and we'll decide who we think can play and who can't. And if you can't play, we'll just move on from you, and you can jump in the portal after a year or a year and a half.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No, that's exactly what it is.
That's what cracked me up when all those coaches was crying about the portal and what Dion was just abusing it. And what's the coach at Nebraska?
Matt Rule.
Yeah.
He was going crazy about it. And then it revealed right after that who was the second most in the portal. It was him. He was just right behind him, like by 15 or something. I said, come on, guy.
Right.
And his top linebacker, Dave, on Thursday just jumped in the portal. He's one of the probably 10 best linebackers in the country from Nebraska. He jumped into transfer. Now, it doesn't open until Wednesday, so you can't do anything until Wednesday, but he put his name in the portal. And at Nebraska, one of the top 10 linebackers in the country. So,
wow.
There you go, Matt.
Yep. Just stop it. That's just that's the way they're going now. So,
well, I know somebody brought up the fact, where does education play? Like, are these kids are they working toward any degree here? What exactly, where's the education play in? Because all we're hearing is about, money, NIL,
right?
Portal, transfer. Okay. Are these kids working toward any major? Are they going to get any degree?
Yeah, that is their major. Basketball, football. That's their major. Because that's what it's turned into. It's just that's exactly what it is. You see guys that want to get their degree, they are there for at least 3 years. And even if they do leave, they're able to get that degree when they leave or might be on the verge of getting it in 3 years. So it's just, you could tell, when guys are at college for 1 year, I'm going to the NBA. If that's the case, if it's football, that they're just for exactly that. Once they're eligible for the draft, they are out of there.
They're out.
Yep.
But you're only looking at an elite group of players.
Yeah, right.
Correct.
Just everybody think they're that guy, but no, it's just a few. It is.
Well, what they're saying too now is with the portal and with NIL, you're going to see your mid-majors basically go away.
Yeah.
Like the Miami, the Bowling Greens, those schools in that get in that area are really the old go there, get your degree. Maybe you get a shot at a pro, but you're going to end up, getting your degree and hopefully getting a job. But the point is, getting into the NFL is extremely difficult anyway. Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, now maybe you transfer to a bigger school if you think you're better, and then you might have a better chance of getting on an NFL draft or get drafted by the NFL. But as a rule of thumb, I mean, and sadly, I know we're only talking about probably 5%, not even that, of where this is really affecting players. However, players think they're a lot better than they are, and they get into this portal thinking, hey, I'm really better, and they find out nobody wants them. As you've just stated, Irish Mike, you gave us the numbers of all the players in the portal that haven't gone anywhere, and they've been in there for almost over a year, and they're not gone,
They're not gone
yet. The other problem.
Yep. A long-standing problem. That's what it is.
And it's going to continue to be that way. And again, and I know they're going to try to put limits on what schools can spend. And we talked about it previously, Dave and I. I mean, you and I were like, they're not going to be able to deny a player NIL. Now, the schools may not want to get NIL involved, but if a kid, any student, women or man, athlete, can get NIL money, I don't know how the schools can prevent them from doing it.
Right.
But they think they can, and they're thinking, well, we're going to do away with NIL. No, you're not. I mean, they keep losing they lost to the Supreme Court, 9-0. I mean, this is what cracks me up. Well, we'll get it through the federal government. And as soon as they get it through, some lawyer's going to sue over NIL when you're denying NIL money to some player. You know where that's headed?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, exactly right.
I mean, but I always blame the NCAA for this mess because they had no foresight. They never did anything to prevent it. And they could have at least put some limitations and guardrails here. But again, maybe a lot of it is you don't have a commissioner that you can at least dictate what's going on in the whole college football and basketball, situation. And you don't have that. So everybody's doing their own thing.
Right. Yep.
No leadership, and the NCAA is not a leader. They're almost a dinosaur now. When you're going after Jim Harbaugh for McDonald's hamburgers, what does that tell you?
Yep.
And now he can't coach in college football ever again, according to the NCAA.
Yeah.
And like you told me all the time, Lucia, that scandal went on with the sign stealing. The Michigan fans could care less about that. It's irrelevant to them, right?
Yeah.
And let's be honest, 99% of college football's moved on too, right?
Of course they have.
Who hasn't moved on? There's those diehard Ohio State fans that have not moved on from that, right? They keep bringing it up again and again. Something happened 18 months ago.
And here's the whole thing with the stupid sign steal. Everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
And they all do it. And it was just that Michigan was supposedly doing it illegally. It's that old thing with baseball. Same thing. They had the sign stealing scandal with the Houston Astros because they were doing it electronically and they're not. But you can do it, but you just can't use it. Don't stop it. The whole thing with, you could do it. It's a little cheating is okay. Certain types of cheating is, quote, okay, but other types is not okay. So now we're getting into defining what's legal cheating and what's illegal cheating.
Right. Correct.
And that's the whole thing with the sign stealing scandal makes me laugh. and I think I told this story 100 times. Phil Simms talked about it. This is back when he was, I think, in 1981 or one of those years. 80. They were playing the San Diego Chargers. They picked up a guy off the San Diego Charger football team, and they had all the San Diego Charger player. They had the whole they had the plays. They knew exactly what San Diego was doing, and they lost 42-10. Is what he said. We got drilled. We got hammered by but we knew their plays. But we got beat. We got absolutely hammered. 42, or I forget the number. He just talked about it. It was a Mad Dog, and he laughed because he goes, "Oh yeah, we had the San Diego Charger play. We had the playbook. The guy knew the playbook. He gave it to us. We had it. We knew exactly what they were going to do. We couldn't stop it because we stunk."
Yeah,
well, that works.
Right. And that's what this whole sign stealing thing is. Even, I've heard Dion say, Sanders even said, that's stupid. You gotta stop them, knowing or not. You still gotta stop them.
Right, you have to.
You gotta make the play, and if they execute the play better, they're gonna beat you because they're better.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole thing with Harbaugh and the sign stealing, I'm a Buckeye fan. I think that's ridiculous. He won because they were physically a better team.
Yep.
And as that guy said, the sign stealer said, they didn't change their hot guy all year long. They had the same hot guy for 12 straight weeks. He said, that's their problem, not mine, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's why my buddies that live Ohio State were even more mad about that. They're like, how stupid. We didn't change it. Like, who doesn't
we didn't change it?
Because we're high school coaches and we change ours every week.
Well, and that's it. That's a good point. The whole point came out as I think it was Gary Danielson said that on Mad Dog. He said, why don't you just change it every week? Most teams do.
Mm-hmm.
Just change your signs every week and you won't have a problem.
Yep.
And it was almost like who doesn't do that?
Yep.
So,
that's
hey,
been
Pat, Dave, I got to run, friends.
All righty.
Thanks for taking my call.
All right.
Take care. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Thanks, Irish Mike.
Have a good weekend. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, that's what we got.
Yeah, anyway, we're getting back. Irish Mike giving us a call about the Tennessee quarterback.
Yeah, that's something.
It's kind of funny. He'll end up somewhere.
Oh, yeah, definitely will. I mean, too good of a talent not to.
Look, all right, Heupel's moving on, and there are going to be some. He probably knows where he's going anyway.
Oh, the guy Nico, he may know where he's going.
Nico knows probably where he's headed.
Just like Heupel know the reason he's telling him that he has to go. See, this is the thing. They said, because he missed some meetings. Okay, I guarantee you this. If Heupel did not have another top echelon guy waiting and ready to go, I bet you they'll overlook those missed meetings.
Of course.
But he already has somebody. He already knows he's got a top flight guy coming in, 5-star probably. So it doesn't matter. He said, hey, you're gone. We're going to dismiss you. And Nico's probably already been looking because he might know that they're bringing in a 5-star. And he had a very good season for Tennessee. Right. And he doesn't want his career to go the wrong way when it's going to be, he got another year that he probably can be an NFL drafting. Right. So he's ready to go somewhere. Somebody
and maybe Nico's looking for a better landing spot.
Oh, yeah.
As you just said, to improve his NFL stock.
Right.
Thinking maybe he can work his way up to next year's draft where, supposedly there's going to be better quarterbacks coming out next year is the quarterback draft than this year. So Nico's thinking, well, I want to get to a team. Maybe I want to move on because I'm looking for a better team with a better system to improve my game.
Right. He definitely can throw the football, and then he's a dual threat because he can run.
He can run and
Yeah. So, I mean, he's a do-it-all type quarterback. So you think he's not going to land somewhere? We just got to be watching the next few weeks. He'll be somewhere.
Yeah, he's going to end up somewhere. He's going to go to a top flight school. He'll be a starter, and he's going to play. And he's hoping that he can ultimately work on his NFL draft stock for the 2026 draft. Mm-hmm. And that's what he's looking at. He's going to go to a team. Hopefully they can, win, and he can work his way up the draft board. Because that's basically what these guys are doing, which they should be doing.
Yeah. Yep. So that's what you got to do. And these guys getting ready for this year's draft to be something. But I'm just very interested. That's next, not this Thursday, but the following Thursday, right?
We're Thursday. Yeah. Basically, it would be a week from this Thursday coming up.
Yeah. I'm ready to get to it because just to see where some of these guys will land.
I want to see. I think, I think this is the Shador the draft. I have a feeling he doesn't get past New Orleans.
Yeah, me too. I'm thinking
he might get. I think the Jets might draft him, but the caveat is they're the Jets. So
yeah, and if
when you think,
I'll be shocked. Neither one. If the Jets nor New Orleans don't draft him, I'm looking for teams like Pittsburgh trying to move up a little bit further. I mean, you could. The Browns could get back in like I said, back in that first round later on. It's going to be somebody that's going to take that because it's too many positives. Like they said yesterday in that show I was watching, there's too many things that's positive for them to just say this guy can't play at all. How can you just say he can't play at all? I mean, and that's the way they're acting, like he can't play. He had 47 starts. They said it was 47 starts total. And him and Cam Ward had 55.
Yep.
The guys are ready for the next level of learning. They say he's very adaptable of learning. And then they was talking about they don't think it's going to be, big problem. People used to say there's going to be problems with Dion and this and that. But people just don't like parents or whoever is to be there for their kids. But that's just them being there to make sure they get the right things done. And that's what Manning, they was talking about Manning. That's exactly what he did for Eli back in the day. He made sure that he went to something where the franchise was stable, the front office was stable, and made sure he was in the right situation. So, I mean, that's what you want. You don't want him going somewhere where you can go to an unstable franchise and it can really ruin a guy. I've always said to this day, I don't think, people say Tim Couch was a bust. Well, this situation was a bust. I don't know if he was for sure. What would he have been somewhere else? I mean,
well, and that's the same thing.
Don't know.
Same thing. The other Derek Carr's brother.
Oh yeah, David Carr. Oh
David Carr.
If he wasn't with the Texans and when they started out, man, I never seen a guy run for his
quarterback
for his life.
History. Yeah,
he was running for his life. As soon as he snapped the ball, he was running.
Yeah.
He was running. The guy could definitely throw. I mean, he was way better than his brother, than Derek. He definitely was.
He was.
He had all the skills.
Better than his brother.
But you talking about a guy that took a beating. He took a beating in that short career. Yeah.
Yeah, he had the short career.
Yes, it was just too much.
I think he won a Super Bowl with the Giants. I think he was the backup.
Yep, he was.
To Eli in the Super, and I think the first Super Bowl Eli won, I believe,
with the
was
helmet.
The backup.
I think I think he was a backup then.
And so he has a ring, but he was I thought he was a very good quarterback. The problem was ultimately, again, we talk about this time and time again. When you're drafted on a team that has a poor offensive line, like Saquon Barkley with the Giants, they needed the line. They drafted Saquon. He struggled because the line was horrible. And Saquon goes to the Eagles with a good offensive line, and look what happens.
Right. And that lets you know what type of talent he was anyway, because he got maybe 1,200 yards behind a makeshift offensive line.
Oh, it was terrible. Right.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley played behind one of the worst offensive lines in history, one of the worst lines to play behind, and he did great things, but he was limited on what he could do because the line was so bad.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you can say about all the guys. I mean, we go back as far as, like we said, the Juice, that, when he was with Buffalo,
right?
Man, that offensive line was horrible.
Yeah.
And they wanted to make him a receiver. Yeah. Remember, they was going to change him to a wide receiver. And they said he's a bust. But then when Saban came in, Lou
Saban came in and changed it.
He changed everything. Got the offensive line together and said, hey, you're going to be our guy.
OJ he made OJ a basically running back, handing him the ball. And, OJ had a Hall of Fame career, but it was basically Lou Saban.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that too. I was watching that show, Good Morning America. They said he probably had the best of any running back 6-year span than anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
From 71 to 77.
Yeah.
There haven't been nobody that consistent with that type of running that he had then. And I didn't realize that, but when they showed all the statistics, and then he was doing it in 14 games, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think what people need to realize that too is that what people did with OJ. When you look at his career, he started to your point, from 72 to 76. Which is basically a 5-year span.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had 1,251 yards in 72, 2003, 73. He only had 1,125, 74, 1,817 in 75 in his last season. Well, in 76, he had 1,500 yards.
Yeah.
76. And then in 77 is when he had the injuries. He only played in 7 games. And then he his last 3 seasons, he had 500 yards or so. But you're right. There was that time frame in there, those 6 years, that there's probably no quarterback, 5 years, no quarterback in NFL, running back in NFL history that had those 5 years.
Like that. Yes, ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
Yep. Another week of time.
Well, next week we'll be doing it. We got NBA big time next week with the playoffs.
Yep.
So everybody, a great thanks, Dave, for coming in doing the show.
Right.
We'll be back next weekend. Stay safe. Do not drink. Do not drive. Stay sober.
Someone's got to set the tone out there, boys. Someone's got to set it.
The station that sets the tone for Youngstown Phantoms hockey is Western Reserve Radio. WRDB, The Scourge.
Primetime weekdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard share their knowledge of sports, gambling, and pop culture on Follow the Money at a New Time.
Like the guy can play football. Yep. And without him, we're talking about this team maybe being the worst one in the entire league.
On the bandwagon, I was high on this team, but my concern was this awful coaching staff.
They'll keep tabs on the big wins and bad beats from the night before. Plus, get you geared up for the action that's about to begin. Follow the Money now at 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Welcome to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Hour number 2 of the VSiN Weekend Morning Line. We're with you every Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern. I'm your host, Tim Murray. We're live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas. Appreciate Connor Allen coming on, giving us his thoughts on the NFL draft. More NFL draft thoughts here in just a matter of moments. I love the NFL draft. I've always joked, even at a younger age, this was one of my favorite events of the year. And now that you incorporate betting into it, where we had Derek Stevens on the show Thursday night, owner and CEO of Circa, of course, Derek Stevens, and Matt Humans and I asked him his thoughts on the NFL draft. And you get a lot of the similar thoughts out there. And he said, I hate the NFL draft. He doesn't want to book the NFL draft. He said they have never won the NFL draft, them being the sports book. So that's why it's an event that we love to bet so often. I know not every state is legal and has the opportunities out there. To be honest, here in Nevada, it's not great. We obviously don't have access to DraftKings or FanDuel here in Las Vegas. But if you're in a state that's got a full plethora of opportunities, that's what they are. There are opportunities out there. And I will say this, because we just had Connor Allen on, and you hear these really hefty prices, like you mentioned with the cornerbacks. Sometimes in the NFL draft, it's painful, but you do have to lay some serious chalk. And for Connor Allen, he felt like the price of 4.5 corners was way off, and he would be willing to lay the hefty price at minus 280. So more on the NFL draft here in just a moment, and I'll continue to start to add more to my card of the NFL draft. For me this year, I don't know what it is. I have yet to, in recent years, I felt like I've had more in the portfolio. As of right now, nothing really there just yet, but I do think if we do get at some point that exacta 1, 2, 3, I think it's shaping up pretty soundly of Cam Ward 1, who's minus 10,000 right now to go number 1 overall. Travis Hunter 2 seems like it's continuing to build steam. You got that a lot earlier this week. And then Abdul Carter going to the Giants at 3, which I think makes the quarterback situation pretty fascinating when you look at a Shedeur Sanders, a Jackson Dart. Could you see the trading up from a Cleveland Browns? Could this be a 2007 situation with the Cleveland Browns? And ultimately, when they traded back into 22 to get Brady Quinn out of Notre Dame, it didn't work out. But at 3, in 2007, there was a belief the Browns will take Brady Quinn. But ultimately, they decided to take Joe Thomas, a blue chip player. He is a Hall of Famer, right? So they took Joe Thomas. He was their starting left tackle for a decade plus. And then they ultimately traded back in to get Brady Quinn. Could that be a situation we see unfold a week from Thursday in Green Bay, where the Cleveland Browns maybe trade back in to get Shedeur Sanders? So we'll talk some draft here in just a moment. I wanted to pass this across here because we talked NBA with JVT. No NBA games today as we're getting closer to the NBA playoffs. We'll know the bracket come tomorrow. But the NHL is kind of the same way. And I imagine Jonathan Davis, our NHL reporter, will be adding plays to his card. One game that I threw into the picks page yesterday was the Blue Jackets versus the Capitals this afternoon in Columbus. The Washington Capitals, who, of course, last week as we were on the air, we had just signed off, and Alex Ovechkin broke Wayne Gretzky's record with 895 career goals. The Washington Capitals have locked up the 1 seed, and they're playing Columbus today, who is probably not going to get into the postseason, but still possible could get in. And the news just